Welcome to Classic Game Room, where I'm pleased to bring you the review of Virtua Fighter Animation on the Sega Game Gear, which complies with Part 15 of the FCC rules. Just in case you didn't know that. The Game Gear complies with the FCC, whereas Virtua Fighter flagrantly disregards anything the Federal Cattle Commission has to say. Why are they involved in regulating the Game Gear anyway? Cows can't play it, can they? If they could, they would discover this seriously truncated version of Virtua Fighter on the Game Gear. Virtua Fighter Animation. Unbeknownst to me, there was an animated series based on Virtua Fighter in the 90s, now knownst to all of us, thanks to me, who knownst myself earlier on the internets. So this version of Virtua Fighter has a cute little animated storyline that starts off with this guy who enters a pot stickers eating contest at a Chinese restaurant and ends up hooking up with Pi after kicking her ass. So we've got eating, foreplay, and fighting. Sounds like a Klingon mating ritual, but no, it's Virtua Fighter Animation. Which has some pretty kick-ass music, but to be honest, that's about the only thing it has going for it. This is a fairly disappointing version of Virtua Fighter that, oddly enough, plays with 3 buttons on the Sega Game Gear, the 1 button, 2 button, and the start button blocks. To pause your game, you simply take out the batteries. The storyline mode seems like it has promise, but once you have to fight Jackie, it immediately ends because he's the cheapest fighter in the game. So after losing about 50 times here, I just moved on to the arcade mode and played as Jackie, who is indeed the cheapest fighter in the game, which is great if you're playing as him. As you may notice, the screen pulls in and out depending on where your fighters are in relation to each other. That's called the real-time mode. Real-time on your Sega Game Gear. Not a bad idea, actually. It's just kind of an abrupt change. The trick to winning this version of Virtua Fighter is to play as Jackie and just push your opponents off the edge. It's kind of dirty, but it works most of the time, at least until the end boss, who isn't that difficult anyway. If I take myself back to 1996 when this game was new, my opinion might be very different, though. It does play fairly well for a mid-90s handheld game. It's in color, it sounds good, and it's even got some fancy voice dialogue. But does it play well enough to be called Virtua Fighter after having played just about every other Virtua Fighter game out there? I gotta tell you, this is not the strongest installment in Sega's excellent series. While this is not god-awful, and it certainly won't cost you very much if you're collecting for your Game Gear, there's better versions of Virtua Fighter out there to choose from. But do those versions have a storyline where Akira hooks up with Pi after eating 3 tons of Chinese food? If you're looking out for Akira's best interests, pick up this game. If you're looking out for your best interests, pick up another version of Virtua Fighter for something else. So a big thanks to Eric from Dallas, Texas, who sent this game to the show. Were it not for Virtua Fighter Animation, I would not know that I am a super fighter. And it goes on to say, operation is subject to the following 2 conditions. 1, this device may not cause harmful interference, and 2, this device must accept any interference received, including interference that may cause undesired operation. What does that mean? So this will accept harmful interference and pass it through to you? What if that's undesired? Is this really safe?